It's a boldface question. Step 1 is to identify the conclusion here. This complete sentence from here to here is the conclusion. In simple words, the conclusion is that no, the cases reported are not false. Okay. Step 2 is to link the two boldfaces with the conclusion. So how is the first boldface connected? See, the first boldface is a circumstance, a finding whose consequences are under assessment, and the second boldface is something that supports the conclusion of the argument. So with that groundwork, let's look at the answer choices. Yes, first is a concrete fact, so it can be called an evidence, but no, it has not been used to support a conclusion that the argument provides further evidence for. This may have been used to derive an unsaid implicit conclusion that the cases reported are false, but then the argument has not provided any further evidence to suggest that the cases reported are false. So this part is incorrect. Answer choice A is a trap. It requires some serious deliberation before you can eliminate it. Look at answer choice B. Calling the first a finding is alright, but to say that the accuracy of this finding is what the argument is evaluating is just not correct. The argument is not evaluating whether this happened. So answer choice B is just not correct. And even the second part here, the second has not been presented for the purpose of establishing the accuracy of the second. See, the second part has not been said to suggest that this first part here is correct. So answer choice B is a very poor answer choice. See, in choices D and E, calling the first a claim is incorrect because this is an actual finding. This is a concrete fact. This is not a claim. So choices D and E can be easily eliminated, and then no, the first has not been disputed by the argument. To suggest that this has been disputed by the argument would be to say that the argument suggests that this is not true, which is not the case here. Further, to say that this claim made in the first boldface is the basis of the second is not correct. The second boldface simply supports the conclusion of the argument, and the conclusion of the argument is against drawing certain likely interpretations from the facts stated in the first boldface. When you read the first boldface, you get an impression that the cases may be falsely reported, but then in the later part of the argument, we discover that in companies where the cases are underreported is so because the employees do not have an incentive for reporting those cases. And then once again in choice E, to say that the claim, first of all, claim is anyway incorrect, and then the claim has not been used to support a conclusion accepted by the argument. The likely conclusion from this claim is something that the argument cautions against. So the first claim is not something that supports a conclusion that the argument accepts. The conclusion that this claim may support is that the cases may be falsely reported and the argument is against it, and therefore to say that the second is that conclusion is also incorrect. The second is in the favor of the main conclusion here, which is to say that the cases reported were not false. So a lot wrong with choices D and E. Let's confirm answer choice C once. The first is a finding. Yes, calling this a finding, a concrete fact, is perfectly alright. Whose implications? So yes, see, the argument is trying to evaluate what the implications of these findings are, and in the process of doing so, the argument cautions against drawing certain implications. So this entire part, the first is a finding whose implications are at issue in the argument, is as good as it gets. Look at the second part here. The second is a claim. So see, this is an opinion. This is not a fact as such, and therefore calling this a claim would be alright. So the second is a claim presented for the purpose of arguing against acquiring certain implications from that finding, as in this finding here. So once again, this finding is likely to suggest that the cases reported are false, and the second boldface here makes a case for suggesting that the cases may not be false, or in other words, it cautions against acquiring certain implications from the finding stated in the first paragraph. So the second boldface suggests that one must not hastily conclude that the cases reported are false. So yes, the second boldface argues against acquiring certain implications from the findings stated in the first boldface here. C is the correct answer choice.